OCS Audiobooks presents Transform from Religion to Spirituality. Waking Up from the Trance of Religion by Ryan C. Sanders. Dedication to the seekers, the wanderers, the wounded, and the wild. You aren't crazy. You're just waking up. I know sometimes it seems you're caught in the middle when it comes to your belief system, but that's just it. It seems like. By changing the way you look at things, the things you look at have a tendency to change. And because the English language is delivered in a way that causes you to think, it's not called trickery. It's called awakening. Congratulations on the journey you're already on. Hopefully, this book will serve as a directional signpost. I personally believe that all who wander is not lost. Table of Contents. Introduction. The trance we didn't know we were in. Chapter 1. From existence to insistence. Chapter 2. Religion. The womb and the wall. Chapter 3. The awakening. Not a departure, but a return. Chapter 4. Perception is reception. Chapter 5. Deconstructing the illusion without losing the essence. Chapter 6. What is spirituality really? Chapter 7. The resistance. Why truth feels like treason. Chapter 8. Insist. Living from the inside out. Chapter 9. Humanity united. Beyond teamism. Chapter 10. Transformed. The manual for the new human. Sensei outro, generator of decisions, and about the author. Forward. In the transformation from religion, which in my case was Christianity, to spirituality, I never really felt that I left Christianity. Sure, I declined regular services, missed praise and worship, but mostly I just felt like I awakened from the trance, like the scripture that says, "Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." The illusion world layered over all religion like the Wizard of Oz. Poof, gone. I started realizing that the energy I was calling God, a German word, mind you, basically meaning higher characteristics of oneself, I started realizing that energy was in me. And so I birthed a word called insist, meaning to dwell within. Therefore, God is real, but God does not exist. There is no place that energy is not present. It can only exist. Therefore, God, energy, cannot exist to anything. Why? Because God, energy, exists in everything. Oh, now that we recognize God as energy guided by thought, then who is controlling my thoughts? I am a mere reflection of what I am thinking. The ing represents a continual pattern. The way a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. It became clear to me that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, and that perception is the basis of reception. How you perceive something is how you receive everything. That is important to know, because what we discover next will change our belief bias, our cognitive dissonance, and shake the very things we know to be true. Transformed was not created to battle your perspectives, but that one may grow, and then we may grow as humanity to fulfill our intended purpose, which is love. Introduction. The trance we didn't know we were in. You didn't leave your religion, you outgrew its walls. Most of us inherit belief before we have language. Religion becomes the software our mind runs on by default. It's not inherently bad, but at a certain point it becomes a loop, a trance, a beautifully wrapped identity box with a divine name tag. Transformed isn't about bashing religion. It's about waking up from the programming and realizing that what you were searching for was never outside of you. The kingdom wasn't lost. It was just unseen. This book is not about rebellion. It's about remembrance. You're not asked to throw away your principles. You're invited to reframe them, to expand them, to own them from a higher perspective. You're not betraying God. You're becoming aware that you are your own judge. Chapter 1. From existence to insistence. For those requiring scriptural references, Galatians 2:20. It is no longer I that live, but Christ liveth in me. Identity shift, ego downgraded, divine software installed. Colossians 1:27. Which is Christ in you, the hope of glory. The hope is an external rescue. It's internal activation. 2 Corinthians 6:16. I will dwell in them and walk in them. Notice, walk in them, not just in their lives, in their being. As amazing as the word insist is, it was born from a simple thought that turned into a real question. If the idea of God lived inside of me, what would I call that? There it was. New word alert. The word insist, meaning to dwell within. It's a verb. Verbs describe actions, states, or occurrences, and since insist involves the action of dwelling or existing within something, it fits as a verb. The word insist holds significant potential in both spiritual and philosophical contexts, especially as it challenges conventional notions of existence and invites a deeper introspection into the nature of being. Potential relevance. Insist addresses a fundamental shift in understanding the divine and human connection. Rather than perceiving God as an external entity, insist encourages the recognition of the divine as an inherent internal presence, dwelling within each individual. This concept aligns with various spiritual traditions that emphasize inner divinity, suggesting that God and other spiritual forces, like the devil, are not external beings but energies directed by human thought and attention. This word is particularly relevant in discussions about spirituality and religion. Insist redefines how people interpret religious teachings, focusing on the internal presence of the divine rather than seeking it outside themselves. It's a future key term in modern spiritual discourses, promoting a more introspective approach to understanding God, the universe, and self. Psychology and personal growth. In a psychological context, insist could be used to emphasize the importance of self-reflection and inner awareness. By focusing on where one directs their thoughts and attention, insist inspires individuals to cultivate positive energy and alignment with their inner values. In psychological practices, therapists and counselors might use insist to help clients focus on their inner life and the energy they direct through their thoughts, promoting a healthier mental state by encouraging mindfulness and self-awareness. Philosophy. Philosophers could use insist to explore concepts of existence, identity, and consciousness. It opens up the discussion about nature and being and the role of thought in shaping reality, encouraging a move away from external validation more toward an inner understanding of existence. In spiritual texts and sermons, religious leaders and spiritual writers are adopting insist to articulate the idea that God or the divine does not exist outside of us, but dwells within, guiding believers to seek spiritual connection internally. In educational contexts, educators in philosophy, theology, or metaphysical studies might incorporate insist into their curriculum to challenge students' traditional views on existence and encourage a deeper exploration of self and spirituality. In literature and art, writers, poets, and artists could use insist as a central theme to explore the inner journey of characters, or as a concept in visual art to depict the inward search for meaning in the divine. By offering a new lens through which to view existence, insist has the potential to become a powerful word in discussions about spirituality, personal growth, and the philosophy of being. Its future usage will reshape how people understand and interact with the world, emphasizing the profound impact of inner focus and the energies that dwell within us. realizing the tremendous impacts of how our inner world will change drastically just by adding a new word to our toolbox. There was a moment, quiet but seismic, when I stopped chasing God in the sky and started listening for the echo within. Not because I gave up on faith, but because I realized I was looking in an unproductive direction. I grew up hearing the classic story, the man walking with Jesus on the beach, watching his life unfold. During the hardest times, he notices only one set of footprints and asks, "Why did you leave me?" And Jesus replies, "Those were the times I carried you. It comforted me." Until one day something deeper stirred. What if I was never being carried? What if I was walking the whole time and God was walking as me? That's when it hit me. God wasn't above me. The energy existed within me. I wasn't being rescued. I was being revealed. I wasn't abandoned. I was activated. The footprints didn't prove his strength. They revealed mine, powered by the divine within. It wasn't two people on that beach. It was one presence in motion. That's existence. Not God above me, God expressing through me. I didn't need to be carried. I just needed to remember who I was. For years, I performed prayers, obeyed rules, sang songs, all aimed upward, outward, always asking, always reaching. And yet, the stillness kept saying the same thing. You're not abandoned. Where could I leave you? That's when the word came to me, insist, to dwell within. Not a metaphor, a message. Not a theological tweak, but a total reframe. The hidden power of a word. Insist challenges everything we've been taught about how to connect with the divine. Where exist suggests something outside of us, separate, objective, even distant. Insist brings it all home. It flips the map. It removes the middleman. It shifts us from being seekers to expressors of divinity. It's not a new truth. It's a truth that's been hidden in plain sight, veiled by systems that prefer people remain dependent on an outside validation instead of internal authority. To exist is to live, breathe, think, feel, and decide from a place of rooted divine awareness, not as a guest in your body, but as the source from which your life flows. How the word works. Examples. Instead of waiting for a sign, I now insist in trust. She no longer fears the future. She insists in the now. I used to chase God. Now I insist in the quiet and find that energy there. Insisting isn't escaping life. It's anchoring within it. It's a verb because it requires action, presence, stillness, listening, inner alignment. To insist is not to believe harder. It's to become more aware. Why this changes everything. The moment you insist, you stop outsourcing power. You stop assigning God to the clouds and start embodying God in your character, your thoughts, your decisions. This shift is more than spiritual, it's neurological. Every time you affirm, I am one with the divine, or the kingdom of heaven is within me, you're not just speaking feel-good phrases. You're giving your subconscious new commands. Your brain begins rewiring itself for empowerment, alignment, and peace. The old grooves of fear, guilt, and striving, they weaken. The new pathways of worthiness, connection, and creation, they strengthen. This is neuroplasticity working in service of spiritual sovereignty. And as these new patterns take root, your perception shifts. You begin to receive life through a different lens, one that isn't clouded by the illusion of separation. Insist versus exist. You don't come here just to exist. You came here to insist, to radiate from within, to create from consciousness, to live from truth rather than tradition. God does not exist to you. God exists as you. The moment you embody that, your old self can't survive. Galatians 2:20, it is no longer I that live, but Christ liveth in me. You stop performing for power, you express it. A new language for a new human. Words shape thoughts. Thought shapes identity. Identity shapes behavior. And behavior creates reality. This isn't just vocabulary. It's a revolution. It belongs in sermons that center self-ownership, in therapy rooms where people reclaim their internal voice, in classrooms teaching students that divinity isn't something they lack, it's something they've been trained to forget. You don't have to escape the world to find peace. You just have to exist in it consciously. So no, I didn't leave God. I finally caught up to where the energy has been the entire time, within me. This is the shift from existence to insistence, from programmed living to present truth, from hierarchy to harmony. And once you insist, you don't go back to searching. You just start creating. Michael Shermer's, author of The Believing Brain, adds the crucial insight that belief comes first, then the brain finds reasons to support it. We are natural pattern makers and meaning builders. When your core belief shifts from God is separate to God is me, your brain reorganizes its filters to confirm that truth. You begin to perceive synchronicities, connection, peace, because your brain is now primed to find it. You don't just believe what you see what you believe. That's insistence in action. Chapter 2. Religion. From the womb to the wall. Religion was never the enemy. It was the entry point, a necessary structure to contain the fire before we could carry it ourselves. For many, religion is the womb where consciousness first stirs. It comforts, nurtures, teaches right from wrong, and creates meaning in the chaotic world. But the womb, by design, is not permanent. What once protected becomes restrictive. The same beliefs that held you close now hold you back. And the moment you begin to stretch beyond the boundaries, the system interprets it as betrayal. But it's not betrayal, it's growth. Most don't leave religion out of rebellion. They outgrow it. The rituals no longer reach. The doctrines no longer resonate. And deep within, the soul starts whispering, there's more. What we were taught about God is often rooted in repetition, not revelation. And repetition, especially in childhood, programs the subconscious with hard beliefs, rigid mental loops that equate spiritual worth with obedience, fear with reverence, and suffering with virtue. These programs become the scaffolding of our worldview and add to our collective dysfunction. And here's the truth. Your brain doesn't need these beliefs to be true, only to be repeated. That's how they become internal law. The more we hear, fear, or repeat something, the deeper the neurological grooves it carves into the subconscious. It becomes not just a belief, but a lens we don't even know we're looking through. So when we begin to question those beliefs, it's not just spiritual, it's neurological disobedience. The mind resets, doubt triggers guilt, exploration feels like exile. But that's only because the system that shaped us also trained us to fear its undergoing. But when you awaken, you realize the wall you hit wasn't punishment, it was a door. And freedom isn't the loss of belief, it's the expansion of it. You can keep the principles, you can honor the sacred, but you must set it free from its container. You were never meant to worship the structure, you were meant to embody the source. Religion at its best teaches stories to open the mind. At its worst, it uses these stories as cages. But once you see the system clearly, you can extract the essence and release the shell. You can eat the meat and spit out the bones. You can honor the womb and still walk away. Because you are not here to live under inherited beliefs. You are here to become the living embodiment of truth, not dogma, not doctrine, but direct connection. When you stop outsourcing your divinity, you stop being controlled by fear, false evidence appearing real. You start walking as a conscious creator, not a member of the approved team. And that's the moment religion becomes what it was always meant to be, a building block, not a throne. Murphy's framework was correct. Whatever you impress on the subconscious becomes your reality. Religious conditioning, repetitive prayers, guilt cycles, fear of hell, creates a subconscious prison. But once you recognize these are mental programs, not divine truth, you can rewrite the code. If religion was the womb, the subconscious is the amniotic fluid. What you repeatedly hear about God, self, and salvation becomes embedded. Liberation begins when you deliberately introduce new spiritual affirmations. I am divine presence. I am connected. I am enough. Chapter 3. The Awakening. Not a departure, but a return. Awakening doesn't come with lightning. It comes with silence. One day, what used to feel like truth starts to feel like tension. The scriptures sound more like scripts. The prayers echo hollow. And deep in the stillness, you realize something simple and terrifying. You didn't leave God. You just left someone else's version of it. This isn't the abandonment of faith. It's the return to it. It's the moment you step beyond belief and fall into direct knowing. It doesn't require a robe, a ritual, or a pulpit. It requires presence, stillness, listening. Awakening often feels like breaking. But what's breaking isn't you. It's the casing, the inherited layers, the conditioning, the programs passed down like sacred family heirlooms. What's left is the real you, quiet, connected, clear. From a biological lens, awakening is the dismantling of outdated circuits. Your brain has spent decades firing the same thoughts. I am separate. I must earn favor. I must obey to be loved. These grooves become your neurological baseline. But when truth starts to sweep in, when the mind is challenged by soul-level awareness, the brain reacts like it's under attack. That shaking you feel, that's evolution. With every new thought of, I am enough, I am divine, I am, you carve new paths in the mind. These aren't affirmations. They're rewiring commands. Your inner world begins to reorder. Your body recalibrates. Your reality changes. Because awakening is not the discovery of something new. It's the remembrance of something ancient. Something that was always inside you. That is not the end of your old self. This is the emergence of your original self, your higher self. Joseph Murphy says, your awakening is the moment you reclaim authority over your subconscious. You move from God out there to God in here. When you begin to repeat and feel deeply the truth of the kingdom of heaven is within me, you activate the law of belief. The subconscious doesn't argue, it accepts. And once it accepts a higher spiritual truth, it works night and day to bring it to form. Therefore, it is accurate that the act of awakening is neuroplasticity at work. The brain, once hardwired to conform, obey, fear, can transform into a brain wired for compassion, stillness, and inner knowing. This isn't theoretical. MRI scans show actual structural changes in the brain of those who meditate, practice mindfulness, or reframe trauma spirituality. Awakening, then, is both mystical and mechanical. Chapter 4. Perception is reception. Reality doesn't happen to you, it happens through you. The way you perceive the world determines what you receive from it. Your beliefs act like bi-energy attraction magnet, letting in what matches its vibration and rejecting what doesn't. You're not just a witness of reality, you're a builder, moment by moment, thought by thought. This isn't motivational fluff, it's mechanics. Your brain is constantly scanning the environment and feeding you what it already believes. If your subconscious mind has been trained to expect fear, judgment, and scarcity, that's what you'll see, even when it's not there. Not because it's true, but because your mind is programmed to confirm it. But when you consciously shift your perception, when you choose to see life through the lens of unity, peace, and inner power, you give the subconscious new orders. You tell it, we no longer search for threat. We search for truth to know gain through right knowledge. And the subconscious, faithful to its nature, begins building a new world around your new internal script. Perception is not about ignoring what's wrong. It's about elevating what's real. And the most real thing is your awareness. The more present and aligned you become, the more clearly you see that reality is not fixed, it's fluid. It bends toward your most consistent thoughts. Your perceptions shape your reception. Your reception becomes your experience, and your experiences create your story. Change your view, and you change your life. I agree when it's said your subconscious mind takes the orders you give it based upon what your conscious mind believes. Perception isn't passive, it's an instruction. When you perceive yourself as divine, powerful, connected, you tell your subconscious to create that as reality. That's why the I am affirmations are crucial. They build a receptive state, not for something external to descend, but for your inner divinity to rise. This is what Michael Jackson was trying to explain in the song Man in the Mirror. Just think about the lyrics. Science supports. Repeated perception literally sculpts the brain. If you constantly perceive threat, betrayal, or separation, you develop a negativity bias loop. But if you consciously shift to perceiving beauty, unity, presence, your brain's architecture changes. Your reception improves. You begin to tune into a different spiritual frequency. Not because the world changed, because you did. Chapter 5. Deconstructing the illusion without losing the essence. You don't have to burn it all down. You just have to stop pretending the walls are windows. There's a fear that comes when you begin to question your beliefs. A fear that maybe you're betraying everything you once held sacred. But the truth is, you're not betraying the essence. You're confronting the illusion. Deconstructing isn't destruction, it's clarity. It's recognizing that much of what you believed about God, self, and the world came from repetition, not revelation, from culture, not consciousness. And the moment you start asking deeper questions, the old system tries to pull you back, not because it's holy, but because it's comfortable. But comfort never created expansion. You don't need to throw away everything you've learned. You simply need to hold it up to the light. What still breathes truth? What still sparks connection? Keep that, but release what was built on fear, shame, and hierarchy. You were not born to be managed. You were born to become. This process may feel violent, but only to the ego, which is short for edging God out, which is the essence of higher self. The soul rejoices. The mind unravels so it can rewire. The subconscious updates its data set, deleting the scripts that no longer serve and reinforcing the ones that align with your awakened state. The foundation isn't crumbling, it's being revealed. You are not walking away from God. You are operating closer to the divine than you've ever imagined. You're not destroying your past. You're extracting the gold from the rubble. The fear of letting go comes from the idea that if we tear down our beliefs, we'll have nothing left. But the truth is, only what's not real can be threatened. What's true stays. What was programming falls away. The system you were raised in may have introduced you to the concept of the divine, but it also may have chained it to conditions, fear, and division. The move forward, you must confront what was programmed into your subconscious and ask, does this still serve my highest awareness? Spiritual deconstruction is sacred work. It's not spiritual rebellion. It's spiritual renovation. You're not burning down your foundation. You're clearing out the rot. Your brain will resist. Neural pathways shaped by early religious trainings are persistent. They're wrapped in memory, emotion, and identity. But the act of awakening begins with a neurological revolt. The old synapses lose power and the new ones take form. Ones based in presence, unity, and direct connection to source. As Eckhart Tolle said, to awaken within the dream is our purpose now. When we are awake within the dream, the ego-created earth drama comes to an end, and a more benign and wondrous dream arises. This is the new earth. You are not leaving truth behind. You are releasing what was blocking it. The essence remains. The rituals may change, but the fire at the center that was always yours. Chapter 6. What is spirituality really? Spirituality is not a label. It's a lifestyle of awareness. It's not about crystals, chants, and cosmic jargon. Those are just tools. The essence of spirituality is simple. The present moment, felt deeply. It is the stillness beneath the noise, the signal beneath the story, the self beneath the roles. While religion often offers structure, spirituality offers space. It asks nothing but presence. It doesn't demand obedience. It invites awareness. And where awareness grows, so does power. The brain thrives on this. Practices like silence, breath work, reflection, they activate parts of the mind responsible for peace, empathy, and focus. Over time, these practices literally restructure the brain, replacing ancient loops with calm presence. But the power of spirituality goes deeper than biology. It realigns you with what has always been true. That you are not separate, that you are not waiting to be chosen, that you are already whole. Spirituality doesn't need a name. It simply asks these things. Be here, be true, be still. From there, everything flows. Spirituality isn't a belief system. It's what's left when belief becomes experience. It doesn't belong to a religion, a culture, or a movement. It is the internal compass that always points home. Spirituality is the awareness beyond the thought, the breath between the noise, the thread that connects all life without demanding uniformity. You don't need incense, robes, or chants. Those are expressions, not requirements. The real practice is simple. Presence. Not presence as in just showing up, but being fully aware, fully grounded, fully here. This is where the magic of the brain kicks in. Presence activates parts of the mind responsible for regulation, peace, and integration. It quiets the fight or flight systems and enhances clarity. Your mind begins to shift from survival to sovereignty. Spirituality invites you to stop outsourcing your awareness and start embodying it. No middleman, no mediator, just you in the present moment, fully alive. It doesn't demand loyalty to dogma. It simply asks that you become available to truth. The spiritual path isn't upward, it's inward. And from that place, everything external begins to align. Chapter 7. The Resistance. Why truth feels like treason. When you start waking up, expect resistance. The world doesn't like it when you change, especially the parts of you that were taught survival depends on staying the same. Resistance shows up as guilt, shame, fear, or the deep sense that you're being deceived, but you're not. You're being deprogrammed. And that's the war zone for the subconscious. Your belief system was not just spiritual, it was neurological. It's the wiring that told you who to be, what to fear, and how to earn love. So when you start rewiring that wiring, the old system fights for its life. It whispers doubt. It weaponizes your past. It warns of punishment. But your fear is not proof. It's a reaction to freedom. You're not losing your mind. You're reclaiming your own authority. The fear you feel isn't God leaving you. It's your old identity trying not to die. Stay the course. Because on the other side of resistance is clarity. On the other side of fear is peace. And on the other side of illusion is sovereignty. This is where you shed your inherited skin. This is where the new self emerges. Nothing threatens the subconscious more than change. When you challenge old beliefs, especially those inherited from religion, your inner alarm system goes off. It's not just fear of being wrong. It's fear of losing identity, community, and perceived protection. The subconscious mind was trained to equate questioning with danger. So when you start asking, what if this isn't true? Resistance kicks in like a spiritual immune response. You're not crazy, you're courageous. This is exactly how your brain responds when rewiring happens. It clings to what's familiar, even when it's painful, because pain is predictable and the unknown is not. But on the other side of that resistance is your next evolution. Keep going. You're not being punished. You're being invited. The fear is a sign you're on the edge of a breakthrough. And the truth is, you're not betraying God. You're betraying the false systems that try to replace God. Chapter 8. Insist. Living from the inside out. To insist is to live as if the divine is already here, because it is. When you shift from existence to insistence, you stop seeking validation from the world. You stop outsourcing power. You begin to live from the inner source, the real one. It's not philosophical, it's functional. You speak differently, move differently, think with intention, feel with depth, create with alignment. You no longer exist, you insist. This is the shift from reacting to reality to generating it. Insistence is the conscious practice of living from inner divinity rather than external programming. You don't wait for signs, you become one. You don't chase alignment, you live from it. The internal becomes the compass. The body becomes the temple. The breath becomes the prayer. And life begins to respond not to what you hope for, but to what you embody. As your thoughts change, your brain follows. Neuroplasticity activates. You begin defaulting to peace instead of panic, to vision instead of fear. Insistence is not performance, it's presence. It's not belief, it's embodiment. You're not trying to connect to God anymore. You're expressing the divine that was always within. This is mastery. Not over others, over yourself. Your brain adjusts to this mode. It stops scanning for external approval and begins mapping for internal truth. You trust your intuition. You walk in presence. Your subconscious stops needing to survive and starts learning to thrive. You stop echoing old truth. You start embodying the new ones. Insistence is the practice of divine embodiment. No longer waiting, no longer wandering, just being. You become the signal, the source, the sanctuary. The outward concept of God is an inner reflection to our divinity. Chapter 9. Humanity United. Beyond teamism. The divine doesn't pick sides. It doesn't wear a jersey. It exists in all of us, or it doesn't exist at all. When you awaken, you begin to see the madness of teamism, the us versus them paradigm, so embedded in religion, politics, culture. It's a virus of separation. It makes the ego feel safe but starve the soul. The truth, there is no other. When we dissolve the illusion of division, something extraordinary happens. Compassion returns, empathy rises, and the mind once wired to defend identity begins building bridges instead. This is spiritual maturity, to hold truth without needing to be right, to love without needing to win, to recognize the divine in every human, not just the ones who look like us. We don't need more teams, we need more transcenders. When you stop identifying with belief as identity, you begin to see everyone as a reflection of the same source. Religion often creates teams, saved versus unsaved, us versus them, holy versus worldly. But these categories are constructs, not cosmic truths. The soul doesn't play teams, it plays oneness. True spirituality invites you beyond the need to be right, into the call to be real. You stop defending doctrine and start demonstrating love. From a neurological perspective, the human brain naturally categorizes for survival. But spiritual awareness retrains the brain to move beyond tribalism into compassion. You see the divine in all people, even the ones who trigger you, especially the ones who disagree with you. Because once you truly awaken, you realize there is no them, there is only us. Chapter 10. Transform, the manual for the new human. You are not who they told you to be. You are not the sinner, not the beggar, not the follower. You are the creator. G-O-D, generator of decisions. Let me tell you a story. I'm walking down the street, sun is out, spirit is light, and out of nowhere I catch my foot on a rock, stumble, catch myself, heart races. First reaction, God is good. Woo! Kept me from falling. But rewind the scene, same street, same rock. This time, the stumble ends with, damn, the devil is busy, always put obstacles in my path. The rock didn't change, the street didn't change. Only one thing changed, the mindset in the moment. What I choose to see, what I choose to say reveals exactly what I'm generating internally. That's the secret most people miss. God, the Most High, isn't out there playing celestial chess with your life. You're not a pawn, you're the player. You're the interpreter, you're the creator. Every word you speak, every moment happens, reveals where your thoughts are anchored. And where your thoughts are anchored, your life follows. Say God is good after a stumble and you've decided to see grace. Say the devil is busy after a stumble, you've decided to see opposition. Same event, different creation, different energy. What you call God is the echo of your decisions in real time. That's what insistence is. It's not about hoping something divine swoops in. It's realizing something divine is already flowing through. So the real question is, what are you generating? Love or fear? Responsibility or blame? Empowerment or victimhood? Because make no mistake, you are not just a reflection of your thoughts. You are the factory, the generator, the source. You are the interpreter of every signal, the master of every meaning, and the alchemist of every obstacle. Get with it. Wise, because awareness without wisdom is just noise. Intentional. Nothing changes until you do it on purpose. Trained. Stay sharp, transformative in a lifestyle, not a moment. Thoughtful. Your thoughts write your reality. Watch your pen. Emotionally disciplined. Your power lives where your peace begins. You are not here to just follow rules. You are here to remember that the divine lives in your decisions. So walk differently, speak differently, choose differently. Because when you truly know God, you stop looking for signs in the sky and start realizing you were the signal all along. Transform. It's not a state, it's a frequency, a conscious return to what's always been within you. This is the manual for the new human, the one who creates from love, not fear, one who perceives from unity, not division, who lives from existence, not survival. The old self was built by default. The new self is built by the generator of decisions, you. You're no longer waiting for the divine to act. You've remembered the divine have been waiting for you to choose. You're not who the system said you were. You're not the small or broken or in need of external fixing. You are a generator, a creator, a conscious frequency in motion. To be transformed by the renewing of your mind is to no longer let the past script your identity. It's to remember what the programming tried to bury, that you are divine awareness in motion. The new human doesn't worship God from a distance. The new human live as an extension of God in real time. You don't escape life, you elevate it. You don't conform, you create. You are no longer waiting to be saved. You are awakening to the fact that you always had the code. Transformed is not the destination. It's the software upgrade, and you're already installing it. Final thoughts. Waking up is only the beginning. Transformation isn't the end. It's the beginning of authentic living. You no longer pray to connect. You're connected. You no longer believe blindly. You see clearly. You no longer seek salvation, you embody it. This is the call of the awakened, to live wide-eyed in a world lulled to sleep, to show, not preach, to be, not prove, to love, not fear. Welcome to the other side of belief. Welcome to existence. About the author. Ryan C. Sanders is a transformational thought leader, coach, and visionary with a mission to awaken the divine intelligence within every human being. Through years of inner work and spiritual evolution, he discovered that what we call God is not external. It is the existing presence within us. From his own journey out of religious programming and into embodied spirituality, Ryan birthed a blueprint for remembering that we're all not broken, lost, or waiting. We're all creators of reality. His work is rooted in activating personal power, dismantling systems of spiritual limitation, and helping humanity reclaim its creative authority. This isn't just teaching, it's remembrance. It's returning, it's transformation. This is more than a book. It's a doorway. Walk through it and take others with you. Call to action. Reread the chapters, or re-listen in this case. Highlight what hits. Share the book with someone who's ready. Embody the frequency. Live as the new human. Tag Inxisters, INXISTERS, and hashtag transform to build the ripple. Leave a review and speak the truth that's shifted you. Now we're going into the bonus section of the book. Here's a 20-question interactive test designed to measure your retention, integration, and reflection on the key ideas from this book, Transformed. The questions mix multiple choice, true and false, short answer, and reflective-based prompts, offering both knowledge, recall, and personal application. Good luck, which means, of course, laboring under correct knowledge. Transform, the interactive retention and reflective tests. Part 1. Knowledge check. Multiple choice, true or false. What does the word exist mean? A, to exist outside of self. B, to dwell within. C, to follow a higher power. Or D, to leave the ego behind. Number 2, according to the book, what is the primary difference between exist and exist? A, exist is physical, exist is mental. B, exist is externalized living, exist is internalized or internal embodiment. C, exist is negative, exist is positive. D, they mean the same thing. Number 3, what metaphor is used to describe religion in chapter 2? A weapon and a wall. B, a seed and a storm. C, a womb and a wall. D, a map and a maze. Number 4, in the book, what does God stand for? A, generator of divinity. B, generator of decisions. C, growth over doctrine. D, guide of destiny. Number 5, true or false? The book argues that transformation comes from rejecting all belief systems. A, true, or B, false. Number 6, what key role does neuroplasticity play in the transformation journey? A, it stops negative thinking. B, it allows the brain to rewire old belief systems. C, it creates religious habits. D, it blocks emotional pain. Number 7, what happens when you change the way you perceive something? A, you attract more people like you. B, your spiritual energy decreases. C, your brain resets growth. D, the things you perceive begin to change. Number 8, according to the book, what is the main role of the subconscious? A, to guide conscious thoughts. B, to analyze logical decisions. C, to accept repeated beliefs and turn them into reality. D, to control emotions. Number 9, which of the following is not a component of being witted? A, wise. B, intentional. C, thoughtless. D, emotionally disciplined. Number 10, the book compares the resistance we feel during transformation to A, an emotional trap. B, a spiritual punishment. C, a sign that truth feels like treason. D, a loss of intelligence. Part 2, integration and application. Short answer. Number 11, how does the concept of exist challenge traditional religious views of God? Think of your answer. Why is perception is reception a key concept in transformation? Your answer. In your own words, describe the shift from religion to spirituality as presented in the book. Number 14, how does understanding the subconscious mind help in spiritual transformation? Think of your answer. What does it mean, for number 15, to live from the inside out? Part 3, personal reflection. Number 16, what old beliefs have you begun to question or release after reading Transformed? Number 17, what is one practical way you've started existing since finishing the book? Number 18, describe a moment in your life when you realized God was not external, but within you. Number 19, in what area of your life do you most need to generate new decisions? Number 20, after reading Transformed, what does being spiritually awake now mean to you? Answer key for questions 1 through 10. 1. Be, to dwell within. 2. Be, exist, is externalized living. Exist is internal embodiment. 3. C, a womb and a wall. 4. B, generator of decisions. 5. B, false. 6. B, it allows the brain to rewire old belief systems. 7. D, the things you perceive begin to change. 8. C, to accept repeated beliefs and turn them into reality. 9. C, thoughtless. 10. C, a sign that truth feels like treason. This will be the end of Transformed. Until next time, as always, thank you for listening.